Hello and welcome to the Little Blue Pot. It's Jem here. Thank you for joining me, YouTube. I hope you are well. Welcome to Negative Thinking and How to Challenge. So if you have seen any of my Distorted Thoughts Part 1 and 2, that'd be really useful to watch before this, because it gives you a lot of the lists of the different types of thinking errors. This is a more general list of questions that you can apply to any negative thought you have. I'm going to choose one myself, but have a think about one of yours. Research today is taken from anxietybc.com, a really cool website, and there's a PDF that you can print off with these list of questions. So if you want to have a go after you've watched this video and apply your example, then that would be really helpful. You can even maybe make some flashcards if you're out and about. Think, oh, I'm having that thought. How can I question it? How can I challenge it? I'm going to use the example of I always let people down. This is when I cancel on people, or say things out of a BPD rage. That I tend to have this negative thought quite a lot. But use your own one, or you can use that one if that's one of yours. Don't want to trigger anyone, so try not to pick anything too big. Try and sort of start off a bit small. So let's go for it, shall we? Am I falling into all the links are in the description for the videos and that PDF. Am I falling into a thinking trap, e.g. catastrophizing, mind reading, overgeneralizing, those kind of things? Well, when I say, let's break that sentence down, I always let people down. So always, I would say, is a very kind of overgeneralizing, catastrophizing word, implying that every day all I do is let people down. And of course that's not the case. If I did that, I wouldn't have such lovely, wonderful people in my life. And I've been let down too, but I don't ever think that someone out there is always letting me down. So can you apply that to your thought? Okay, next one. What evidence is there that this thought is true? Well, a couple of months back I cancelled on a couple of friends and they took it really personally, and I haven't seen them since. So technically it has been true. And of course, when I have my BPD rage, sometimes I say things I don't mean and probably hurt people's feelings, which might then let them down. But also, what evidence is there that it's not true? Well, as I said before, I have lots of people in my life, and the people I have cancelled on that maybe don't have mental illness, some do have mental illness, they have been supportive and said, sorry you're depressed and you can't get out of bed. I completely understand why you are cancelling. We're postponing it to another day. So yes, there might be some true and there might be some not true. Have a go with your question, with your thoughts, sorry. Excuse me, I've got a really tickly throat. Have I confused this thought with a fact? Oh, one of those classic things I learnt in therapy. A thought is a thought, not a fact. So a thought is in here. A fact is evidence-based. So we've looked at the evidence in the previous question. Is it a thought? Is it a fact? Sometimes it may be a fact, but on the whole, saying I let someone down all the time is not really a fact, because you can't really measure that. You can't really prove that. So therefore, it's probably just a thought that gets worse and worse in your head. And maybe if you talked about it, wrote it down, challenged it like we are today, then you might start to kind of lose that thought, or it might become less frequent in your head. What would you tell a friend if she or he had the same thought? So your friends come up to you and said, I always let people down. I'm so awful. I really, really don't like myself because all I do is let people down. Would you say to them, yeah, you do actually. You're rubbish. Rubbish friend. Of course you wouldn't. You wouldn't let them say that about themselves, would you? So you'd say, oh, no, you've never let me down. You may have cancelled on me and I've been disappointed, but you've never really, truly let me down. And on the flip side, what would you say, what would your friend say to you if when you have that thought? So, oh, I always let people down. They'll probably say, again, on the flip, reversing it, say, okay, you cancelled on me, and there was a time when you cancelled like 2 or 3 times in a row, and then I was thinking maybe you didn't want to see me. So having that communication is key, but try and think as well, what would you say to another person in that situation, and what would you say to them? Would you say the same thing? You're probably never going to say to someone, you always let people down. Oh, you wouldn't say that to someone. You probably wouldn't say that to your worst enemy, or maybe you would. Have a think about that and apply it to your thought. Am I 100% sure that this will happen? Well, no, you can't be 100% sure of anything. If we were 100% sure of everything, then that would be amazing. We could go through life knowing exactly what is going to happen, relieving our anxiety and all of that kind of stuff. You can never be 100% sure of anything. Humans are humans. None of us are perfect. I have let people down, but people have let me down as well. So you can't always be 100% sure. How many times has this happened before? Well, I've hurt people in relationships. I've cancelled on people. I've been by BPD rage, and I've said nasty words, but all of those things has happened to me because we are all human and nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes. So it may have happened a couple of times. Maybe write down the times that it has, but then think about all the times when you've been out and that list is going to be huge compared to the ones where you think, actually, yeah, it has happened. I promise you. Is letting people down so important that my future depends on it? Well, of course, we don't want to go through life just being awful to people and letting them down and cancelling on them and things like that. We want to make sure that we spend time with those people, and I can connect with those people and love those people and feel that love back. But actually, basing my whole future on anything is a huge, huge pressure to put on yourself. We can never kind of predict what's going to happen. And I think the future doesn't depend on what's going on in your head. It needs to be based on facts. Sorry, guys. What's the worst thing could happen if I always let people down? Well, I probably would feel quite rubbish about myself. And but again, that always is so strong. So maybe we could change that to say, what's the worst that would happen if I did it every now and then? Well, I might upset people, and then I might have to kind of say, yeah, I was a bit rubbish to you the other day. Sorry, I'm itching my ear. A bit rubbish to you the other day. I said that thing and it was a bit cold. I think the other day my sister came over with my niece, and I got really stroppy because I was supposed to record, and I was really off with her because I was like, you don't understand, I've got things to do, and bless my little niece, she was coming up and she was looking at my camera and all of that kind of stuff, and then I was like, I felt really guilty when they left because I thought I should have treasured that time with my sister and my niece, not gone, can't record. So yeah, sometimes the worst that could happen is you can really upset someone, but on the whole, you won't be doing it all the time. It's impossible to let people down all the time because it's just, you've got other things to do with your day. Not trying to make light of it, but it really can take over these thoughts and negative thinking. You go into that spiral and it doesn't stop. Stop. If it did happen, what could I do to handle or cope with it? Well, I used that example of getting stroppy with my sister. I sent her a message and said, look, I was in a real grump today, didn't sleep very well, got some weird news, and I wasn't really thinking about them, I was thinking about myself. And sending an apology text, I'm very used to sending those. Sometimes it's warranted, other times it's not, but I think because I've got that thought that I always do it, then I'm always kind of apologising, and people get annoyed with me because I apologise too much, and sometimes I don't apologise when I should. I get a bit confused sometimes. That's my BPD brain. Can you apply that to you? What is the worst that could happen if your thought takes place? So if it does happen, what can you do to cope with it? I've already said that one. So think about how you could cope with it. So maybe you're thinking, if I go outside, I'm going to have a panic attack. Well, if you do go outside and have that panic attack, what's the worst that can happen, and how can you cope with it? Can you put things in place? Can you kind of organise something to set yourself up? Not to kind of, I'm going to have one, so therefore, it's definitely going to happen. I don't want on these self-fulfilling prophecies. But if you think, okay, what's the worst that could happen? How can I handle it? Then you might be more prepared to deal with it. And actually, it might be less likely to happen because it won't be muddling around in here. You'll be kind of vocalising it or writing it down and making it feel more normal, rather than this big, huge problem that you have. Is my judgment based on the way I feel instead of the facts? A lot of the time for me, if I let people down, I automatically go, I'm horrible, I'm terrible, I'll always be like this, they'll never love me fully, and all of that. And actually that's not true, because if this happened all the time, then I wouldn't have anyone in my life. And as I've said before, people have let me down. But think about the facts. Go back to your evidence. Go back to your list of evidence that it's true and that it's not true. If your judgment is based on your feelings, talk about that cycle of thoughts, feelings and behaviours. You might have that thought, I've let someone down. You'll do the behaviour by bringing up, I can't do it, which actually I don't do. I just usually do it through text. And saying, okay, so I've cancelled on that person, I feel sad, I feel guilty, and then your thought will be, I always let people down. And then because you're always letting people down, you might not want to see people, which then makes you feel more low, and then you keep going round in this circle. Check out my CBT video for that. Am I confusing possibility with certainty? Well, we can't make any certainty within life. Nothing is ever certain. Was it? Apart from death and taxes. That's from a film. Shush. Am I confusing possibility? So yes, it could possibly happen, but there's no certainty that it will always happen. So again, it's that really strong word of always and never. Really big words that you really shouldn't be applying to your thoughts, because they're kind of permanent. They're fixed, and nothing is permanent and nothing is fixed. Even your thoughts aren't fixed. They will change. They will maybe in a rapid cycle, or they might shift when your mood shifts. Nothing is ever certain. Yeah, well, that's so is it likely? Is it likely to always happen? It's not always likely to always happen, but it might happen sometimes. And what can you do to handle it when it happens? Please try and apply those to your own thoughts. I hope I haven't distracted you too much with my thinking, but try it with yours. Try it with one, and then if you want to, try it with another. And when you are having that thought, if you can bring these questions out, it might really help you to challenge it, and then say, I'm not thinking about you today. It's not going to happen, because I'm awesome, I'm fantastic, and negative thinking takes up too much of my time, and I want to spend more time doing something else. Thanks for watching. Please click on the links in the description. Please share with me your comments on this, any thoughts you have, or maybe share with me what what negative thinking you go to. Has this been helpful for you to start challenging those thoughts? As always, whatever you want to share with me, please put it in the comments below. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.